So you've just set up a beautiful new raised garden bed. It looks amazing, but it's also a giant empty box. In this explainer, we're going to break down exactly how to fill that thing up without completely emptying your wallet and turn it into a powerhouse garden from the ground up.
And that's the thing, right? That's the core of the raised bed dilemma. You have this dream of a gorgeous, productive garden, and then reality hits when you see just how much soil it's going to take to get started. It can feel seriously overwhelming, not to mention expensive.
Yeah, no kidding. The sheer volume of even a pretty modest bed is way bigger than you'd think. And if your plan is to just fill the whole thing with bags of topsoil from the big box store, well, your back and your wallet are going to be screaming at you.
And man, does that cost add up fast. One of our sources did the math, and it was $30 just for a thin 5 or 6 inch layer on 2 medium-sized beds. Can you imagine filling the entire depth that way? There has to be a smarter way to do this.
And that smarter way, it actually starts before you add a single scoop of dirt. A little bit of careful planning right at the beginning is going to save you a massive amount of headache down the road. So let's break down those foundational decisions for a really successful garden.
First things first, width. The absolute golden rule here is to keep your beds no wider than 4 feet. So why is that? Well, most of us can only comfortably reach about 2 feet into a bed. A 4-foot width means you can easily get to the very center from either side without ever having to step on and compact that precious soil you're about to build. Okay, next up, let's talk depth. Now, if your bed is just sitting on top of good soil, you can probably get away with a shallower bed, maybe 6 inches or so. But if you're putting it on concrete or really hard compacted ground, you've got to provide that depth yourself. Most vegetable roots, they want to go down about a foot, so 12 inches is really your minimum for a healthy root system.
The material you choose matters too. Wood's often the cheapest. Douglas fir is a super popular choice. Fabric beds are actually really cool because they air prune the roots. What happens is, when a root hits the air through the fabric, it just stops and branches out, creating this really dense, healthy root ball. And then you've got metal, which is the most expensive for sure, but it will last for decades. Now, before you put anything inside that bed, you have to get these 3 things right. First, put it in full sun. It's just non-negotiable for most veggies. Second, lay down a couple layers of plain brown cardboard to smother any grass or weeds underneath. And third, if you have pests like gophers, putting a layer of hardware cloth at the very bottom is an absolute game changer.
Okay, with all that prep work out of the way, now we get to the really exciting part. This is the method that's going to save you a ton of money and build you the most incredible soil. You need to think of it like building a slow-motion compost pile right inside your garden bed.
So there's actually a fancy name for this whole concept. It's called Hugelkultur. It's a German word that basically means mound culture or hill culture. And all it is copying how a forest floor builds that rich, fertile soil over decades. We're just going to speed that whole process up inside our garden bed.
Honestly, this slide just nails it. Don't let that fancy German word intimidate you. All we're really doing here is building a soil lasagna. It's just a simple, layered approach using materials you probably already have lying around your yard for free.
So here's the recipe for our lasagna. Right on top of that cardboard weed barrier, we're going to build 3 more distinct layers. A foundation of coarse brown materials, an engine of finer stuff, and then finally, the growing zone with our topsoil. Let's dig into each one.
That bottom layer, which is going to take up about the first third of your bed's depth, is for all your bulkiest organic matter. We're talking old rotting logs if you can find them, big branches, sticks, twigs, all of it. This layer creates these big air pockets for amazing drainage, and it slowly breaks down over years and years, providing long-term food for your garden.
I absolutely love this quote because it perfectly captures the magic of this bottom layer. You see, as that wood slowly rots, it gets porous, kind of like a sponge. It soaks up all the extra water when it rains and then slowly releases it back to your plants when things get dry. These aren't just filler. They are literally water batteries for your garden.
All right, on to the middle third. Here we're going to add finer stuff to fill in all the gaps between those big logs and branches. This is where you toss in your leaves, your grass clippings, smaller yard trimmings. You can even dump in old potting mix from last year's pots. This layer breaks down a lot faster, giving more immediate nutrients, and it stops your good topsoil from just falling down into all the cracks below. Okay, we've built the foundation and we've got the engine going. Now it's time for the most important part of the whole bed, the top layer, where your plants are actually going to live and grow.
Now, we saved a ton of money filling the bottom 2/3 of the bed, and this is why.
This top layer is where you really want to invest in quality. This top 6 to 12 inches is the main growing medium. It's where 90% of the action happens, where your plant's roots are going to get established. Skimping here will just lead to sad plants later on.
This slide shows a fantastic, really simple recipe. One of the gardeners in our sources has tried a bunch of things over the years and landed on this high-performance mix. It's just 3 parts high-quality compost to 1 part vermiculite. The compost gives you the nutrients, and the vermiculite gives you incredible aeration and moisture retention. It's an absolute powerhouse mix.
The bed is filled, and you might be thinking, great, I'm done. But hold on, not so fast. There is one final critical step that so many people forget. This is what protects all that hard work and money you just put into building that beautiful soil.
So when you're filling that top layer, you'll notice you don't go all the way to the brim. You want to make sure to leave a gap of about 2 inches. Now that space is there for a reason, a really important one. Any ideas what it might be for?
That 2-inch gap? It's for mulch, and this quote just says it all. In nature, you never see bare soil, and for good reason. It dries out, it erodes, it loses all its life. That little space you left is your reminder that you have to cover your soil with a protective layer of mulch. Things like straw or shredded leaves or wood chips. It'll conserve water, keep weeds down, and regulate the soil temperature. It's a must-do.
So, to boil this entire process down, it really just comes down to these 3 key takeaways. First, plan it all out before you start. Location, size, and all that prep work. Second, build up the bulk of your bed for free by layering organic materials from your own yard. And third, always, always, always protect that beautiful topsoil with a layer of mulch.
And there you have it. You haven't just filled a box with dirt. You've actually created this dynamic, living ecosystem that's going to feed your plants for years and years to come. You saved money, you've reduced waste, and you've built a foundation for an incredibly productive garden. So really the only question left is, what are you going to plant first?